fans all over the world. Thank you for joining us for the first edition of the the unofficial Mighty Ducks Game Changers review show. Matt Lees, thank you for joining us. Thank you for tagging along. Maybe invite your friends, invite your fellow Duck fans as well. Make sure you follow me on social media. You can do that right there at Matt Hitman Lee's Twitter. Welcome to all the members of the Mighty Ducks Game Changers fans Facebook group who have decided to also join us for the show. So, thank you very much. What are we all here for? Well, you may already know. We are here to talk about this show right here, the Mighty Ducks Game Changers. Ooh, yeah. Now, full disclosure, I would have had a guest with me today. My man Vic, he got the measles, so he couldn't be here with us, but he will be here in the future, and we will be joined every week by different guests who have been lifelong Duck fans who are watching along with the show. And each episode, we'll chat about one of the episodes of the show. With the exception of today, we're going to talk about episode 1 and 2 today. I had technical issues that delayed us from starting last week, but we're here. We're going to talk about episode 1 and 2 tonight, and then in upcoming weeks, we will discuss each episode as it drops on Disney+. So, right away, we got to start with history. Obviously, the original Mighty Ducks, these movies came out in the 90s about a hockey team with Gordon Bombay as their coach. For those of you who don't know, a lawyer who was given community service to avoid being charged with a DUI, and he's told he has to coach a hockey team. Hockey? Forget it. I hate hockey. I don't like kids. That's Gordon Bombay for you. So he's back in this brand new series after 3 movies and almost 30 years since the first one. We are back with the brand new series, Mighty Ducks Game Changers. Absolute. So for me, I'm a lifelong fan, so I'm going to be easy to impress, perhaps. But I really wanted to be able to sit down and talk each week in depth about these episodes, and maybe there are people out there that care as much as I do. Perhaps we heard about Game Changers probably 2 years ago now, and then everything kind of went quiet with the pandemic this last year and things like that, and you never heard much of it. Only that Bombay was on board, and then one day this wonderful picture dropped on the internet showing a brand new cast for this show. These brand new Ducks, of course, Mighty Ducks being the story of the underdogs, right? So we'll talk about episode 1, which is called Game On. And episode 1 gives us an Easter egg right away, because the first thing you see is we're at the new home of the new Ducks, and that Zamboni sporting name of Hendricks. And of course, Hendricks Hockey sponsored the D2, the USA Ducks in D2, the Mighty Ducks. And Hendricks now sponsors and owns this building. So the Hendricks Arena is the home of the Mighty Ducks. And right away, the first thing I wanted to bring up, obviously, that Duck logo in the new show. It's a different version of the Duck logo. It's more aggressive, mean looking, and a funny side story. The writer and creator of Mighty Ducks, Stephen Brill, he designed that original Duck logo, the one that Anaheim started to use, the one that they wear at the end of D2. So obviously now Anaheim Mighty Ducks own that logo. They went to them to try to wear that logo in this show, and they were denied permission. Anaheim Mighty Ducks said no to the guy who originally designed the logo, said you can't use it, so he designed this one to kind of be a little bit different. But you can tell even by the dark color scheme, these Ducks are the kind of the tough guys now. You hear right away now you hear the original music, the Mighty Ducks score composed by David Newman within the first few seconds of the show. So you know right away that they're paying homage, that we're in good hands. They've even got the original music, which for Duck fans, long time, that'll be a huge part of it because the music is such a big part of that. First character we meet is Nick the Stick, who is a standout actor, I think, for everyone. This kid is hilarious. As he hosts the Wraparound, which is his Mighty Ducks podcast, he makes a point to say how cute it is that the Ducks used to quack, how quaint that was, but I think there'll be more on that later. We learned that the Mighty Ducks are now the powerhouse team, and they have won 10 straight state championships. This is very much like the Hawks, the heels of the original movie. And these kids have trainers and sports therapists and all manner of things. Now we meet who is immediately going to be our Charlie, which is Evan, It's Evan right here. We meet Evan. Evan's obviously going to be our Charlie, and he's also next door neighbor to the hilarious podcaster, Nick. So these kids are next door neighbors. Nick was never allowed to play hockey. He hosts a podcast about hockey, the Mighty Ducks specifically. We meet Evan, who's the next door neighbor. He's late to practice on the first day, but it's not his fault. We meet Alex, played by Lauren Graham, who throughout this show so far you can see is a struggling but hardworking and caring mom. She is also the main force behind starting this new team. When Evan is about to be cut from the Mighty Ducks, we see Alex at work. She is a paralegal. And right away, we're thinking this place she works is probably Ducksworth, Saver and Gross, which is the law firm that Bombay works for in the first movie. And then if you go ahead and check the credits and IMDb, the character she's talking to here is actually listed as Dan Ducksworth. So it is indeed, we can assume, the same law firm. So obviously they head for the Ducks. They head for practice. Evan's already late. On the ice right away, we meet Sophie, who is immediately looking like the Adam Banks, the standout character here, the really strong player. She's taking shots, but she's got cones set up, and she's shooting eggs off of these cones with the puck. So a really excellent shot. They're chatting right away with Evan. And right away, you notice that Sophie has sort of an injury that she's harboring because she's kind of limping as she skates away. Maybe she's working too hard. Maybe this new guy's working them too hard. So now we have to meet the new coach. And I'm just going to essentially steal directly from Eric Voss at New Rockstars here and just say, calling it now, F this dude. We do not like this guy. We didn't like the new coach in Mighty Ducks 3, and we do not like Coach T here. Not yet, anyway. But however, he is played, it's Dylan Playfair, who is a former NHL player and coach. He's also known for Letterkenny. I have a friend who's a big fan of Letterkenny. And his dad, Jim Playfair, is an NHL coach who is currently the associate coach for the NHL's Edmonton Oilers. So Evan, our poor guy here, he gets cut from the team. And Coach D-Bag tells him, if you can't be great at hockey, don't bother. And he also says, we're not here for fun. And anyone who knows the original Mighty Ducks knows that's not true, right? You know, it's about having fun. So Alex, the mom, she's not happy with this, right? So I love this scene because she kind of gets to go off on the guy. You know, you don't bother, sir. You don't bother, sir. Telling my kid don't bother. You don't bother, sir. Vic, you don't bother, sir. So basically, because it's modern day, these kids are all like recording video of the mom freaking out, and then it's all over the school and gives them more reason to make fun of Evan. So she just tells them, you know what, we're going to get out of here. We're going to eat Cheetos and we're going to sulk. She is now telling Alex, good evening, Kyle. Thanks for joining us. Good evening, Vic, and to JP. So she tells him, you know what, the Ducks don't get to take hockey away from you. Let's start our own team. This player is going to turn out to be our podcaster friend, Nick. Great scene here on the porch. Nick says, oh, can I come over for a follow-up interview? She says, oh, not right now. Great, I'm coming over. He makes a great line about having more of a podcast body. That was very, I felt very seen with that one. So we go into Evan's room and his mom tells him, look, we're going to start our own team. They look it up. You just need 6 players, a coach, and an arena. Now, 6 players for a hockey team, that's rough because with line changes and thing, 6 is the minimum you need. But this is a Disney series based on a Disney film. So they have 3 days to find 6 players, a coach, and an arena. And by this point, I am already firmly on board with this new Mighty Ducks series. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Thanks to our friends at Superpod for making this show possible. Wonderful to be working with my friend Al and everyone over at superpod.co.uk. Thanks for joining us for the Flying V, the Mighty Ducks review show. Please share the link, bring some more people along. Before we go any further and anyone gets upset, full on spoiler alert, okay? Don't message me later. Don't comment spoilers because we are doing a full on in detail breakdown. So of course there are going to be spoilers. So We have this to get this team together. Now, Sam is the next guy we meet. Immediately, this kid is my favorite. He shows up on a skateboard, rides into a vending machine and knocks some food loose. Says, somebody dares you to do something, you got to do it. So he's the daredevil. They ask him to join the hockey team. He says he's not one for rules, so he's not interested. There you have it. He's not into it, but this kid is awesome. They then try to talk Sophie into leaving the Ducks and coming to the new team. She's not introduced. She's not happy. She's not having it. Nick, the podcaster, he tries to get some of the popular girls to play. None of them are interested except for this young lady here, the popular girl, Maya. She's kind of interested. She gives him a little look. She's thinking about it. Then we meet another, like, this show's full of terrific characters. Then we meet Lauren, the warrior princess. She says people think she's weird because she goes to Comic-Cons and things. I feel it. I'm with her. She's amazing. She later goes on to mention that she has nunchucks, if necessary, which is, awesome. So the boys are putting the team together. Alex is working her way through a list of rinks. There's no luck. Evan and Nick are now playing NHL on their Xbox. And they're playing against some kid online. He's an amazing goalkeeper. He's been playing for 10,000 hours, which leads to Nick saying, where are his parents? He's never been scored on. So, of course, it turns out, because it's a Disney show, he's local. So they invite him to join the team. Well, they look him up online. They show up at his house. His mom lets them in their basement. Goes down there, invites him to play. Not a mucho, not interested in his pants and going outside. No thanks. Alex is always doing dirty work for this paralegal company she works for. So she's walking around downtown. She stumbles across a building called the Ice Palace. And this could be her shot. She walks around this building, finds a Zamboni. That's a beautiful shot in the mist. And of course, we hear Martin Sheen's voice. No, we hear Emilio Estevez's voice. She says, "Oh, can you help me?" He says, "Oh, this is pretty sensitive stuff." And he's beating on the Zamboni. He sees her right away. And she says, "Look, my kid got cut from this terrible hockey team." And he says, "Let me guess, the Ducks?" She says, "Yep." And of course, it's the one and only Gordon Bombay, ladies and gentlemen. He's back. Can't have a Duck show without Gordon Bombay, so he's there. She says, "Have you heard of the Ducks?" He says, "Yeah, a little bit." He comes upstairs. It looks like he's running this arena, which is having kids' birthday parties all the time, and he's eating leftover cake and pizza. That's right. It literally makes him a cake eater. Love it. So he's not interested. He has a sign that says no hockey. He says he hates hockey. He doesn't like kids, which, of course, if you've seen the other movies, this makes you think right away what happened, because the end of D3, Andy says Bombay appearing was simply epic. Absolutely agreed. There are a few goosebump moments in this series for me, and I assume for other longtime fans. This is definitely one of them when he just comes out of the mist. Like, they literally misted up the scene, and it's just wicked. And then when you combine it with the Duck music, it's definitely goosebumps moments. But he's here. He's not interested in the Ducks, and he's not interested in hockey. She follows him into his office, and we see a picture of him from D2 when he had his tryout with the Minnesota Wave. And she says, "What are you, some kind of hockey player?" He says, "Yeah, I'm some kind of hockey player." He is saying that there's a no hockey rule. Yes, Vic, you didn't even catch the cake eater thing. Come on, man, get on this. So he says, "Look, I got a no hockey rule." She says, "Look, I found this unused scholarship or funding program for hockey that I can use." He says, "How much?" Takes a look, and he says, "I can bend the hockey rule." I like this scene because it's very similar to him and Mr. Tibbles in the limousine for D2. And he says, "I'm going to endorse sportswear for money." And he says, "No, Gordon, for a lot of money." He writes a number down, shows it to him. And Bombay says, "You're gonna pay me this much to endorse sportswear?" So I like that. It's, they're playing off of those things. Bombay is just great here. Emilio is awesome. I love his character. He's hilarious. This picture, oddly enough, from the episode, this picture looks like prettied up from the trailer. What's that thing called? Smooth face or pretty face or something? The apps looks like it's been prettied up. But he's hilarious. He's curmudgeon. He's grumpy. There are theories as to why he's the way he is, because, like we said, end of D3, he had a great job working for the whatever hockey foundation it was, the International Hockey Sanction. So there's things that could happen. I have a theory. about why he's the way he is. But it's a dark one. It depends which way Disney's going to go. So anyway, he agrees to take the money. He's going to let her use the ice, and that's it. He says, "Welcome to the Ice Palace. Congratulations, the boys, Nick and Evan." He does look a lot like Martin Sheen. He sounds like him too a couple of times. So our main boys are hanging out, and they see the new neighbor moving in. He's moving in from Canada. I don't know how many of you caught the moving company truck. Look at that, A plus movers. See what they did there? A plus movers. Yeah. So then this is where we meet the hair. Gotta have the pretty one. It's not easy being a Logan, the hair. There is a name for this gentleman and the type of dude that he is. I think Vic has a great name for him. But he's moving to town. And they notice that he's got in his stuff that he's carrying. Obviously, he's wearing a Leafs jersey. And he's carrying in a $900 pair of ice skates. And they think, well, this guy must be good. So they ask him, "Hey, man, you want to join our hockey team?" He says, "Definitely. I've been known to push the biscuit about a bit." So he says, "I'll come out. I'll see you on the ice." And then as soon as the practice starts, he says, "Hey, probably should have told you I suck," which of course causes our man to throw a strop. But funny story about this gentleman playing Logan. Obviously, of all the kids, it's a famous story. The original movie, the kids all said they could skate, but they couldn't. Right? This guy's the best skater of the whole cast, apparently, in this show, and he has to pretend to be a bad skater because he's playing the worst skater on the team. Now, a moment ago, we're talking about the moving truck. That's great. Andy says, yeah, he never noticed it. It's funny little things like that, isn't it? So they meet this new kid. He's in. They've now got 3 players. Turns out he's terrible. We notice now we get Alex talking to a young girl making her hot chocolate in the Ice Palace. This is where they give us a little bit of backstory about Alex and the fact that she's a single mom. They make her drowned out by the blending machine making the coffee. So they basically don't want us to know this story yet. So it's interesting. So of course, in his best Charlie Conway, this guy keeps sulking, right? He's always sulking. So he sees that Logan can't skate. Oh, I probably should mention I suck. So this causes our man to have a sulk, have a strop. He heads off and he's complaining to his mom, saying he's not going to bother doing it anymore at all. So his mom's trying to talk him out of it. Gordon Bombay steps in. Now, Bombay in this scene is also eating a cake. Cake eater. He says that he saw the mom's meltdown video. "You don't bother, sir. You don't bother." He says, "First of all, your video was epic." Now, Evan immediately recognizes him and says, "Oh, man, you're Gordon Bombay. You're the Minnesota Miracle Man. Mom, this guy invented the Mighty Ducks." He says Bombay says hockey's been ruined by parents who wanted to manage every single step of their lives. And of course, Alex is no different. He tells her she has to let Evan become his own man. She also tells Evan, Bombay tells Evan he's got to cut his mom a break. Now, this is our first of the Bombay pep talks where you get like the Danny Tanner music in the background. He tells Evan, if you want to play hockey, which is a dead end if you ask me, you have to do it for yourself. You have to forge your own path. There's a great joke here about cutting your grapes for you. Shen says, enjoyed it so far, but worried is it is just going to reboot of the original, as in follow the same format. Team rubbish, hated by decent teams, smack the coach, and then win. I think that's what Mighty Ducks should be, though. So I do think there is an arc. We will talk about my predictions later. It's not, I don't know anything that you guys don't know, but it's Disney and it's a sports related thing. So I don't see a problem with having it follow that format. I think that's kind of maybe the point of it, but I do see where you're coming from. So it's the next day in school, and Evan's going to stand up and give a speech right now. You may not have noticed this either, and I didn't get a screen cap of this one, but there is a banner at the back of this room they're in, this cafeteria. The school is called District 5. And of course, District 5 being the original D5, the original name of the Ducks was District 5. And now the school they go to is called District 5, which I think is pretty cool. Sheldon says a sentence I never thought I'd say. I agree with Shen. Yep, it could be the very same format, but I think so many things have formats that I'm all about it. Andy has a huge prediction to share. He's going to let us know at the end. Definitely, please make sure that you do. Love to hear it. So next day in school, It is like we say, it's the District 5 school. Evan gives this epic Disney sports speech. You know the speech I'm talking about, to rally the troops for his team. There's a great moment with Nick here when he throws his tray on the ground and Nick says, "My pudding." Great little moment. He basically says that he calls these Duck players out for cutting him out of his life once he wasn't on the team. He says he's starting a new team and they may not win a lot, but they will have each other's backs and they will play with heart. Now, that's how a Mighty Ducks plays, not like those dudes in purple pretending to be the Ducks. Lauren is the first to stand up, mentioning she has an inner rage that might need an outlet. I think this girl is going to be a ton of fun. She also says, "I had nunchucks." Evan says, No, don't bring those to school." Maya, the popular girl, stands up. She wants to join. She's tired of trying to fit in. Now we see Sam, the daredevil. Of course, this is the kid who somebody dares you to do something, got to do it. So Evan says, "Hey, man, I dare you to join our hockey team." And of course, he says, "Somebody dares you to do something, you got to do it. I'm there." I love this kid. I don't dislike any of these kids, but this guy is awesome. I can't wait for the see. He has a great moment in episode 2 as well. Can't wait for it to all play out. Now one of the Ducks stands up. She plays like she's going to join in too. Then she just makes a snarky comment and throws her sponsor bottle, her Gatorade bottle, towards the trash. And there we see Coob, the gamer, the dude who told him to go away when he was playing in his basement. He catches it. He says, "That wasn't nice." He throws it out. He looks at Evan. He says, "Your words have moved me. I'll be your wall." Now, I want to say this dude is awesome, and he does remind me of my man Vic, a.k.a. Kodak Brown, who will be a co-host on this show one day. Coob the Gamer, he says, "Your words have moved me. I'll be your wall." So a running theme here with everyone is that people are worried it's just going to be a format thing. But I got to ask, what isn't a format? Like, everything's a format. Marvel movies, format. Cop shows, format. I'm all about this one. I'm looking forward to it. So now they have a team. We have a team, and it's time to not yet. So we go back to the Hendricks Hockey Pavilion. This is a team night. They do these in legit leagues where they come out, they introduce all the teams that are going to be that season. So it'll have all their logos up. They'll bring all the teams out. There will be actual fireworks and things. So they've got all the teams on the screen. You can catch them all. It's cool to see that some of them are featured from the original Ducks movies. So we've got Flames, you got Hornets, Huskies, Ducks, of course, Cardinals, Bears, and Hawks. Now, the Hawks were the original bad guys in the first movie. They now play in orange. They even give Lauren a little moment later where she says, "Hey, I like the orange." There are no Panthers listed on this team in this league, which, not to, you don't want to dig too deep on the fact side of this storyline. However, no Panthers. Plays back to the joke of the Panthers have the measles. Of course, Vic was going to be our co-host tonight, but he got the measles too. But no Panthers are there. They've still got the measles. That does mean, if you think about it, that leaves a spot in this league for another team. I think we may have frozen for a moment. You may have just been staring at me for a moment. Who really knows? But we're back. So we're doing the team night. Panthers are still out. They are not listed. Coach T introduces all of these teams, and he reminds the crowd it's the previous season winners who host it. He says, "Hey, we're happy to host this event again." So he introduces the teams one by one. Okay, he introduces the teams one by one, and with, of course, the Ducks, the fanfare and the light show. Eager people, you may have also noticed that when you see this Duck team listed, The Ducks have a number 99, Adam Banks. Now, how about that? Because that does mean that, if you think about it, because in the original movie, they fought the state lines, if you remember. They fought against those state lines, which meant that Adam Banks was playing for the wrong team, right? Well, so that would mean if Banks still lived in the same area and had a kid, that kid would definitely be a Duck. So, did you or did you not notice they did have a number 99 Banks on the Ducks? All the players are in place. Got all the teams ready to go. Evan tells his mom, Alex, she's got to be the coach. It's got to be you, man. So before closing the event, they interrupt Coach T. And she says there's one more team to compete. He asks for the name of the team, and she tells him the Don't Bothers. And what I think is a very meta joke, Coach T says, are you sure that's the name you want to go with? A nice line with some great foreshadowing. And then Evan says, I don't know if you caught this, Evan says, for now, but then we're coming for your name. Love it. So one of my predictions for that would be that by the end of this season, I think the final game is obviously going to be the Ducks and the Don't Bothers, right? I think they'll also find a way to bet the name of the Ducks. If the Don't Bothers win, they'll get to carry on as the name with the name of the Ducks. Looks like we lost the feed for a moment, but I do think we are back now. So the Don't Bothers are there. And as he kind of goes to wind that down, he says, he shows them a video that the season is going to be full contact in this age group. So they're going to be playing a rough game. But the Don't Bothers enter the ice with an attempted flying V. They look a lot like the original Duck team. They've got makeshift helmets on. And if you take a look at these guys, they've got, football helmets on and things like that. Here we go, right here. As they pop out onto the ice, there they are. Football helmets and ragtag uniforms and clothing, looking just a lot like the original ragtag Ducks. I mean, with all the mishmash of stuff. Really cool touch on that. So they come out. We see the video of the full contact going down. And as you see it, you see these players hitting each other really hard. And then you catch Lauren, the warrior princess, giggling to herself when she sees the full contact. So she's loving it. Now we're back at the Ice Palace. Alex gives Bombay the check for the use of the rink. This time he's eating leftover pizza. He asks, who's going to be the coach? She says, it'll be me. He says, you'll have to prove she can skip before she can coach on his ice. We cue to a portable stereo he's probably had since the first movie. And has then someone who's clearly not Lauren Graham does a questionable skate around the ice. Our Don't Bothers kids are encouraging her, using the lights on their phones as lighters, super positive, taking care of each other. I love these kids. And that is episode 1. Andy says, fun fact, Steve Brill's original script for D1 had the Ducks not winning versus the Hawks in the final. It was changed for Disney. So he may go for something similar this time around, but it will still have a feel-good ending for sure somehow. You're absolutely right. They could absolutely, Andy, they could absolutely lose in the end. Because as we know, it's not about losing. You don't bother, sir. We come to episode 2 now. Episode 2 is Dusters. It's the name of our second episode. Starts with a cool recap with Coach D-Bag, Nevin, and the team starting up their own squad and all that sort of thing. Love that we're getting a little recap. Also, the title sequence is really great. Now, we kick off with Nick the Stick recording his podcast from inside the Don't Bother squad. He says, I do love a sport that starts with hot cocoa. I feel you, kid. I feel you. Now, let's take a look. They get started. There's a funny moment here because Alex is talking to Evan, and Evan says, "Oh, well, Mom, you know hockey. You can coach. You used to come to all my practice and watch all my games." She says, "Oh, I was doing taxes, or I was doing this or that. And if I had glasses on, I was straight. If I had sunglasses on, I was straight up asleep." She then says, I'm going to try Coach A. I'm going to be Coach A. It doesn't work. Just call her Alex. Right away, we see Evan is not exactly on board with his mom's coaching style. He's used to the more stern style of the Ducks. He is not all about that. So now he sulks right away because she says, today we won't be touching the ice. We will be breaking it. They play outside in, which is essentially a reason for a bunch of backstory and exposition on our main kids. Everyone says something that is obvious about them on the outside, but then say something about themselves on the inside that may not be so obvious. For example, outside on the outside, I'm a bad mama jamma, cool as F, huge Duck fans. On the inside, I like long walks on the beach, holding hands in the rain, and pina colada. Yeah, whatever, you get the point. So they hand around the sacred trust puck. These kids share their details about each other. So we got Sam. We find out Sam, after a stop sign related accident, has no split. All right. Maya, her secret talent is essentially she's a mean girl. She uses Alex's outdated style to prove this. Apparently, pockets were big in 2017, according to her. Lauren used to have a crippling fear of death, but now she realizes everybody, popular kids, freaks, all of us have a vast nothingness awaiting for us, which brings her peace. This kid's awesome. Coob, now, a couple times in the show here, they do these weird trip out things with Coob, where he kind of zones out a little bit. He then confesses that he thinks we're all living in a simulation. Evan, by this point he's pretty much full on Charlie Conway. He's sulking. He's not interested. He says, "I just want to play hockey," which of course Banks says in the first one. Logan, now the hair, he gets a little deep here and reveals he's just moved in with his dad after his mom cheated on his dad. So there you are. Nick says he lives with his two moms who are both awesome and different in surprising ways. So cool little touch there. He's got a great moment later too when he gets flattened and he says, "Tell my moms I love them." We now think it's time for hockey, but Alex says, "No, we're going to try Trust Falls." So Evan goes off on a walk by himself. He's sulking. And he finds himself into Gordon Bombay's office, who Gordon Bombay has scheduled his nap time for right when the Ducks are practicing. How about that? So Evan is basically looking for a pep talk here. Bombay's not having it at all. He is not interested. He says, "Hit the lights on the way out and stop calling me coach." Evan talks anyway. He tells him his mom's doing it all wrong. He's doing a little bit of a better job of being less of a spoiled brat than Conway, but he's still kind of there. He says, "He needs your help, coach. She needs your help with coaching, coach. I mean, just tell me we're going to be all right." He says, "The old Ducks got better. Do we have a chance?" Bombay says the old Ducks did get better, but they had me. You do not. Evan passes his mom in the hall, who's now also heading to Bombay's office. She wants Bombay to tell Evan that her training methods will work. He says, "I won't say that because they won't work." He is still his delightful, sarcastic self here, Mr. Gordon Bombay. Still, at this point, still not interested. He says, if you go even 1 minute over, I'm charging you for another hour. We're back at the Ducksworth firm. Alex clears with her boss to leave work early on game days. And her boss is essentially like, "Oh, you're a cute little team. It'll only be 10 weeks, right? Because then the playoffs start. And only the top two teams make the playoffs." Of course, now telling Alex that there's no chance your team will make the playoffs. I think, of course, foreshadowing to us that that's exactly what will happen. So she clears it. They have a little bit of back and forth right there. We don't like this girl. This lady's mean. But we hope that they make the playoffs against the Ducks. We're on the ice with the Don't Bothers now for their first practice. Maybe it's finally hockey time. Nope. Coop's just kind of zoned out laying on the ice, and Alex introduces beach balls. So they're not playing with a puck today. They're playing with beach balls. And here's Evan's little reaction for that. Not pleased with this scenario at all. He just wants to, whatever. I just want to play hockey. There's a great moment here with Sam the Daredevil. He's skating and he jumps up on the ice, on the glass, on the boards, and just falls to the ice. And he says he was trying to find out if he could grind on the boards, which he did not. Which he was not able to do. So Alex visits Bombay and she tells him, "Look, we don't have any gear, man. Do you have any hockey stuff around here?" He says that he took everything hockey related out back, put it in a dumpster, and burned it, and that wasn't even the darkest thing that he did that day. Great moments from Bombay here. So he is not going to help out. Evan is telling his mom, like, "Look, the game's in 3 days. We got to work with a puck." Alex says it's the black disc of death. So they let her play anyway. Now Evan's going to vent to Bombay and say, "Look, no one cares about this team. My mom doesn't care if we win. The team doesn't care." Bombay says, "You know who else doesn't care? This guy. This guy doesn't care either. Not interested." That's basically, Bombay's whole thing here is that he is not interested. So the team goes for pizza. Uh, you know, we all like a little bit of pizza. Evan's not happy because his mom says we are having awards night on the first night of the season, like before our first game, not at the end of the season. You can see here in this picture Nick with a big grin on his face. Nick, very, very happy that he won most improved since yesterday. Evan says this isn't how it works. He kind of takes his mom over and says, "Look, we got to play hockey. We don't. Some of us don't have sticks. Our goalie has an oven mitt on, and it's almost game time." We see Alex now sitting in the ice palace. She's just chilling. She's kind of thinking things over. And then we get the goosebumpy moment for us fans when you see it, the little blur there. Gordon Bombay throws a puck onto the ice with a stick. He starts skating around. There's some shots here that are quite obviously not Emilio, but there he is. And we all know, if you've seen the other movies, we all know Bombay needs to think. And that's when he skates, is when he needs to think. So they start chatting, and Bombay's trying to really make a point to be like, I'm not helping you. I'm not being nice. I'm not trying to do anything. She says, I think I'm making a mistake. I'm going to mess this up. He says, oh, there's a great moment here because he says, what are you doing here? She says, I'm thinking, what are you doing here? And he has a great line where he says, I own the place, which is a cool callback. In the original movie, he says that to Ducksworth in his office. What are you doing here? I own the place. She says, I could really use your help. He says, I have your credit card on file. Let's just keep it at that. He's still not interested. He says, look, I don't like those new Ducks any more than you do, and I'm not getting involved. But if you need equipment, the Hendricks Arena, the home place of the Ducks, has got lots of equipment in the Lost and Found. Why don't you just go there? Just basically steal it, I guess is what he's saying. If he's a lawyer, though, he'd be not saying that, wouldn't he? But he says, there's tons of gear there. Just go get some gear from that place. So that brings us to like a great little heist scene. And the Ducks movies had heist scenes. The original Ducks movie opens with a heist involving the dog poop. You've got the one with the whipped cream. They're all heisty type things. And then you got the one with the ants in the third movie, right? So heists are part of the gig. It's a cool scene. They get to work together as a team. So basically, Evan goes in and talks to the old lady. I lost my helmet. Will you let me in the Lost and Found? Then, of course, they send in the Hare, who basically weirdly starts to flirt with this lady. And she gets distracted, so they get let in. And this is a treasure trove, this room they're in. I searched this picture, these shots. You're looking at some greens and things. I was looking for any like old Duck stuff, but nothing really pointed out there. Nothing really sticks out there. But they do grab themselves a bunch of gear. So now they're ready for game day. You get to our first scene of the show, of the first game. I like the callbacks, Vic says. They don't feel forced like some other movies and shows. Absolutely. This one's one of my favorites. So you see in this pep talk scene, you got Alex wearing this Minnesota hoodie. So it's the same brand of same team that Evan wore in episode 1, this Minnesota hoodie. There you go. And as much as I don't want to do boy Josh Jacks dirty, it's the same one Conway wore in the first movie. Good picture though, right? I picked that out especially. I hope you like it. But don't worry, because Evan gets the same kind of treatment later. So some great freeze frames there. And look, spoiler alert, there you have it. It's a Disney sports movie. What do you need before your first game? You need the jerseys. There it is, a nice brown. Don't bothers. She hands Evan the C. He is the captain of the team, just like Charlie was for the D5 Ducks. She does the Bob Saget Full House speech here. She starts with, which is great because it's always been the vibe of the Ducks, which is the vibe of the Ducks has always been when you fall down, you get back up. And she says, I think we're going to fall down a lot today. And they fall down a lot with no thanks to this guy, Vic's favorite character. So the game starts. They let Logan take the face off. He doesn't even move. He just stands there still. They get a goal scored on them within the first few seconds. It's rough. It is rough. They go back to him after the first goal and they say, what are you doing, man? He says, well, if I move my stick, I fall down. It's the only thing holding me up. We see Coob, the video gamer. He's kind of standing in the goal. And he's saying out loud to himself, video game controls. And they're like, what are you doing? And he says, well, in my game, this is kick save. And he says, not in real life, man. But I think obviously that's gonna, Goldberg in the first movie had that scene where they chained him up and they were hitting the puck at him. So I think we'll get a cool training montage with Coob, where he'll be kind of like they're gonna put on his hands and his pads with the video game controls on it, and he'll be going like X square square X, and then there'll be the chant. It's gonna be great. I'm all about it. All about it. I definitely think that's coming. I feel like Leesy is getting a new hockey sweater. What? You mean like the Don't Bothers? Oh, maybe, but I'm a duck guy, man. I'll wait till these guys turn into the ducks. Just because it's fun, I want to show this picture again. Now, you see the Don't Bothers watching this great scene here where our man Nick gets totaled and he says, "Tell my moms I love them." And you get to see Bombay's watching from the office. Coop's been cringeworthy for me so far. It's tough. And it's like the zoning out thing. Like in the locker room later, he says, I zoned out for most of it. It's strange. If it was like an adult show, you'd be like, is he the stoner character? But I don't know. We do get to see Bombay watching along, which comes back in a few moments. And if you think about it, this is some top-notch Emilio Estevez smell the fart acting. Look at this, guys. Smell the fart acting. Yeah, he's smelling the farts. So he sees the team get dusted 12-0 to the Cardinals. Nick says, "We have been physically beaten, emotionally devastated, and I can't feel anything below my armpits." Alex tries this pep talk now. Evan's not having it. He says, "This was not fun. This was, we lost 12-0. We got whooped." He says, "Enough of this already. We have to get better." So he goes back out on the ice. Our man goes back out on the ice. And in another goosebump type moment, the rest of the team follow him out. And you can hear him kind of talking them up and saying, "Come on, guys, we can get better. We can all do this." The Ducks music plays. Leesy tears up. There's the Duck music. And then, of course, Bombay is still watching from his office with a little bit of a smile. You can tell that Bombay has seen what he needs to see from this, that he's happy, that he wants them to succeed. And I think this means he's going to them. Surely that's not spoilerish, that's a prediction, but, talk about predictability. That's got to be where this is going, right? So now we know, obviously, that there's then a sneak peek for the next episode. The next episode is called Breakaway, in which the Don't Bothers will play the Ducks. We see Evan, who is still trying to convince Sophie to leave the Ducks and join the Don't Bothers. And in this scene, he hands her a pizza box with the jersey in it. It looks like he offers her the captain's C. Can't confirm that, but in that shot, it looks like he's giving her the jersey with the C on it. Now, it's not a spoiler to say that Sophie is going to join the team because she's in the original promotional shots. So we do know there will be a moment where she'll join the Duck team. The Don't Bothers, who are not yet the Ducks. So here's our prediction time. Obviously, I said earlier, please comment in the comments too. Let us know your predictions. And once again, thanks to Superpod for bringing us this show and bringing us together. I enjoy it. So here's prediction time. Like I say, comment your predictions as well. So firstly, it's obviously the clear story arc is the Ducks and the Don't Bothers are both going to make the playoffs. They'll have to face off in some sort of final. Now, based on Evan's comment to Coach C in episode 1, when he made fun of the team name, he said, "We're coming for yours." So the final game is going to have some sort of stipulation where the winning team gets to carry on the name of the Ducks. Probably with Bombay as the coach of the Ducks by then, or the Don't Bothers. Or perhaps with Bombay as the assistant coach to Alex. So, for people complaining that, this show isn't even about the Ducks, it is about the Ducks. Because I'll tell you what, those punks in purple, those aren't the Ducks either. Okay. Now, I have 2 predictions I want to talk about. The first one is there will be quacking. There will be quacking in this show. Trust me. Stay with me. There will be quacking in this show. And my second one, there will be Conway. There will be Charlie Conway in some sort of fashion, but you may not see him. And here's what I mean about it. So the quacking, firstly, they made fun of the quacking, and that means it's going to come back. It has to. That'll be another incredible goosebump moment. Now, there will be Conway. Charlie's certainly going to make an appearance of some kind, but perhaps just in dialogue. Now, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. The writer, Steve Brill, talked about the fact that he brought back 7 of the original Mighty Ducks for this series, 7 of them for one episode. Now, there have been promotional shots. I won't show it here. There have been promotional shots which have revealed which of the cast from the OG Ducks have returned. Now, the pictures only show 6 of them. Now, there are 7 of them. That does mean that the 7th character they haven't revealed because they want it to be a surprise is this stud right here, Charlie Conway. But who knows? Now, Shen says the Don't Bothers become good. All the current Ducks swap teams before the end, kick out the current Don't Bothers, and then they become the Ducks and win it all. All right, a bit more. I don't think they'll kick out any of the Don't Bothers. I think they will be the team, but maybe they'll pick up extra players along the way. So maybe we get Conway like kind of. I think if Conway's in this thing, but the thing is, Joshua Jackson never shows much interest in these Duck movies. He's never at the reunions, and we don't know that he's even in it. However, if he is going to be in it, I think for season 1, it'll just be a cliffhanger at the end. He may show up within the last few moments and say, "Hey, coach," that'll be the end of season 1. Maybe. That could be with Conway. That's what I think might happen with Conway. I have a really dark prediction. We'll talk about that in just a moment, okay? But Andy says, I feel like the most significant plot moments were missed in my commentary. It's Winnie and Alex at the snack bar. Winnie drowns out Alex when she talks about Evan's dad. She then says she dropped out of law school due to her pregnancy, so Evan wasn't planned. And I think that Evan is unaware that he is a father, and that person is Charlie. Ooh, Andy. Obviously, I did mention that they don't want to talk about the dad yet, the story of the dad yet, but ooh, could the dad be Charlie? It's deep, and it means Alex keeping it from him because she would know by now, and would Bombay know her unless him and Charlie, lost contact? But you're right, they did definitely drown out the story because they want to make sure we don't know that tale yet. Could Evan's dad be Charlie? What do you think? Like, let's take a look at Evan. There he is. Doesn't know his dad. Wow, he could be unaware. Is it Charlie? Great theory coming in from Andy. I am into that. I like it. Dig it. Okay. Here's my dark idea. Obviously, Joshua Jackson never wanted to get involved. You see lots of that sort of thing. We need to find a way that Bombay is no longer interested in hockey. In fact, he's really negative and really hates it. Yes, it is, Andy. It's a great one. I like it. I'm digging it. But here's mine. Why is Bombay so anti-hockey when he was so happy last time? So here's my other dark prediction. Maybe Disney doesn't want to go this way, but Disney loves doing this dark stuff. Name a Disney movie where somebody doesn't die. That's right. I said it. Charlie Conway is dead. Charlie Conway died young, perhaps even a hockey-related injury. Hit his head on the ice. Dead. That would then drive Bombay back away from hockey, withdrawing from himself, hating the whole thing because Charlie Conway is dead. What do you think? He's either dead or he's coming back at the end of the season, but depends if we want to go dark. I like both ideas. I like him being the dad. I don't know if we wouldn't have known that or ever. But guys, I'm sorry. Vic says take it back, but I'm telling you, look, check it out. This guy right here. Charlie Conway. That's right. Some fun theories, though. Could Conway be dead? Vic wants me to take it back, but I don't know that I can do that, man. Get off the screen, Charlie. You had enough screen time. But of course, he didn't want to do D3, so the odds are he may want to do this. Andy says, I like your theory too, and the other articles do say it has a dark side, so both could be right. It could be both. He could be the dad, and he could be dead. I'm just saying it would make for interesting storytelling because the end of D3, Bombay was back on his feet. He was practicing law again. He was working for the hockey committee. He was essentially in a good place. So what's caused him to be so negative? However, the flip side of that is if we do the cliffhanger ending at the end of this season. Now, I do want to say that I don't necessarily think we need another season, right? We could just have, we've had 3 movies in 30 years. We could just have one great season and have a great story told. However, if they want to pop it to season 2, you do the last few minutes of the show, last few minutes of the season, you hear, "Hey, coach," turn around to the camera, boom, Joshua Jackson. This would be like in the Mighty Ducks universe, this would be the same as you know who at the end of Mandalorian. Right? Maybe just a coach. "Hey, coach." Vic says, "I'm hoping Goldberg is the dad." Well, you never know. People do say, and Stephen Brill admitted, this guy does look like their new goalie Coop does look a lot like Goldberg. Stephen Brill says, just worked out that way. So there you have it. That is going to be our first edition of the Flying V, the Mighty Ducks review show. I want to say thanks so much for tuning in and watching along. We'll make the video available after so you can watch again, or you can share with friends, get them to watch too. I'd really appreciate that. We're going to be back every week discussing one episode at a time. Much like this stuff, we'll talk about Easter eggs, things you might have missed. So by all means, when you guys come along to watch, please let me know as well. If you see Easter eggs that you think I might have missed, I want to hear your predictions every week. Saturdays at 7:30. I do have guests lined up. So this coming Saturday, we have Mr. Shane Richard Jordan. Now, if you are local here in South Wales, Shane owns Sin City Comics and Collectibles. He is also a longtime Mighty Duck fan. He was one of the guys behind the Comic-Con in South Wales that was going to have the Duck reunion, the first ever reunion of the Ducks in the UK. Shane was the man behind that idea. He loves the Ducks. He's loving the show. I think he's going to come on next Saturday and talk about the episode with us. Episode 3. Then the following week, it is going to be, I've got a list down here so I can schedule everybody out. And by the way, anyone who else wants to come on as well. So then April 17th, reviewing episode 4 will be myself and Mr. Al Galpin, who is the man behind Superpod. Shen says, "Awesome. Go Power." Oh, sorry, wrong show. Forgot you were talking about. Then April 24th, our guest is TBD. April 24th, reviewing episode 5. I'm looking at you, Vic. It's you. Episode 5. April 24th, 7:30. Vic will be here. I just made him agree to it on the air. And then May the 1st, I'm going to review episode 6 with Squee, who is also a podcaster and a broadcaster. Good times indeed. Listen, folks, it's been real. I want to say thank you very much. We're going to be here every Saturday, 7:30, for every time there is an episode of the Mighty Ducks Game Changers. So I hope you enjoyed our chat as much as I did. One thing left to do is say goodnight, say goodbye, and remember, folks, Ducks fly together.